The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
I'm Kim Commando, America's Digital Goddess, and you're listening to the Secrets of Technology podcast. Enjoy.
You're listening to the Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to the Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Pat Scott. Hi, Pat.
Hello there.
And Father Andrew Kinstetter. Hi, Father Andrew.
Hey there, how's it going?
Very good, thanks. We're laughing because Pat keeps doing Father Andrew's line. Father Andrew does hello there. She's supposed to do the other one.
I'm sorry. Ask for him first next time.
I will start asking for him first. I was doing the ladies first, but I will ask for him first. It's not that scripted, folks, but you know we all have our ways of talking.
It's the Obi-Wan Kenobi in me that wants to say that because I don't do that on the Secrets of Star Wars because that's Mike Creevy.
Mike Creevy's line. Yes.
So,
all right. Before we get into things, I want to tell you folks about another show on the network that I'm sure you will enjoy. It's Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World, and it is a popular, great show. You have to check it out. We've been doing some great things with it. It's at sqpn.com/mysterious or wherever you find podcasts. I also want to tell you that we now have a whole bunch of new SQPN merchandise, shirts, mugs, stickers, all this great stuff for a bunch of our shows. We don't have one for Secrets of Tech yet. I'll have to think of what we can do for a design for Secrets of Tech. That could be fun. But for a bunch of our other shows, go check that out, sqpn.com/merch. They're flying off the shelves. People are loving them. They're great designs by Micah Murphy of the Catholic comic Thy Geekdom Come. He did a great job, so thank you, Micah.
Mm-hmm. I have 2 on the way.
Excellent. I have a whole set of stickers to put on my laptop cover I got. So
nice.
That's
yeah,
my
perfect
plan.
use for those.
Yep. All right, before we get into our main topic, I did want to mention something that happened this week, a tech thing, which is that Apple released iOS and iPadOS 15.4 and macOS Monterey 12. I think it's 1. I don't know, it's 12 point something, but whatever the latest one is. But the big deal for that is that they finally have rolled out their much long promised feature called Universal Control. Now, what Universal Control does is if you have an iPad and a Mac, both running of recent vintage, both running these operating systems, you can have your mouse and keyboard seamlessly control both devices. So you've already been able to do something called Sidecar, which is turn your iPad into a second monitor or another monitor for your Mac. But this is different. Whereas, like if you turn the feature on, if you slide the trackpad pointer to the edge of the screen, it will jump to the iPad screen. And the iPad's still running its own apps. And then you can now use it like a trackpad on the iPad and open up apps. You can use your keyboard to type. If you've got stuff on the clipboard, that clipboard will now paste into the iPad apps, all that sort of stuff. It is so good, so seamless. In fact, someone was saying online, I think it was Andy Anatko was saying on Twitter that he had it turned off at one point, but the Mac knew that he'd had it on before, so when he went to scroll over there, not forgetting that he turned it off, it gave this little push and tab thing that popped up kind of saying, hey, buddy, it's off right now, but you could if you turned it back on. I mean, it's just so well thought out. It's still beta. It's not perfect yet, but I haven't run into any problems yet. So I'm really loving it. So I've now been keeping my iPad open next to me here, and I'm using it sort of as like a control station, or not, a communication station. I've got like Discord open on half the screen, Twitter on the other half. I may do like a slide over of my mail client even at some point or something like that, just to have another place for that. So if you've got a relatively recent, anything that pretty much almost any iPad that can run 15.4 at this point, pretty sure, and any Mac that can run Monterey, I think. I don't know if it's Silicon Macs only. Now I'd have to look that up again. I didn't look it up, but check it out. See if you can run it and try it out, because it's been really great. All right. So enough of that, and let's get into our main topic for today, which is about search engines. A lot of us don't think much about what search engine we use. We use whatever our browser opens up to, which for most of us is Google, right? Safari comes preset to Google. Microsoft Edge comes preset to Bing. But pretty much that, most of us use whatever the preset is. But some people say, I don't like the fact that Google gets all this information about me from my searches. I want something more private. And for a long time, the privacy-focused one that people went to was Duckduckgo. And they're very good about privacy. We've talked about them before, and I think it's been a pick of the week in the past, about how they protect your privacy. But something happened this week where Duckduckgo announced that they're going to start downranking sites associated with Russian disinformation. And downranking means when you do a search, they have an internal system that says it has to decide which sites to return for your search at the top. It's got to put them in an order. And how does it decide that? Well, it decides it based on reliability, the relevance to your search, all this stuff like that. And getting stuff on the front page of the search is a big deal, and people spend millions of dollars doing that. Well, DuckDuckGo said they're going to rank sites associated with Russian disinformation related to the Kremlin's invasion of Ukraine. And that sounds like a good thing, but a lot of people were upset because they said, well, that's not why I use DuckDuckGo. I don't want you to be deciding for me what I should see. I want you to just give me the results. Now, DuckDuckGo has a point where they've responded saying, we already rank things for you. Like I just said, they have to put them in some order. And so this is just part of it. They're incorporating knowledge of Russian disinformation sites, like the Russian media, like Sputnik, Pravda. No, Sputnik is one of them, actually. It's called Sputnik. Russia Today, a couple others like that are Russian-owned, that they are downranking when it comes to information searches. So first, what do y'all think of this? Is this a big deal? Is DuckDuckGo doing something that bothers you, or is this a laudable thing that they're doing? What do you think, Father?
In principle, I don't have an issue with it. I would love to have my search results kind of curated on what's the most reliable, and then I would go with those. I think the problem becomes, how do you determine what's reliable and what's not? Even if it's coming from say an unreliable source, it could actually be giving true information. So like in principle, I don't mind it at all. I mean, I think if you go to a search engine, you have to expect a certain amount of that. And I guess, and you're using DuckDuckGo, or people are using DuckDuckGo more for privacy, which I don't think they changed their privacy policy. So they're still not tracking you. They're still not doing any of that. They're just, tweaking some of these results. I mean, so wouldn't it be nice if we could go to any search engine and just have only reliable sources show up? Like that seems absolutely like
right.
the golden standard, but of course that's not reality. So yeah, in principle, I'm not opposed to it. It's just, how does it practically fall out? You have to trust DuckDuckGo to choose what's reliable and what's not.
Okay.
And I think that's what people are having issues with too.
Yep. Pat?
Well, I'm thinking about other things that get screened out of search engine results, and like there is things that are spammy, or things that are known scams, or things that are a site that hosts malware. Those things are already being screened out. So if you said disinformation is basically lying and it's a scam, I guess I don't see that much difference there, but it is the first one we've seen that has been politically based, not just malicious based. Well, they do that with vaccine disinformation too, I think, on some of the search engines. If it's really blatantly wrong, they don't show it to you.
I think that's that's where people are worried how do you label something disinformation? So, a scam or malware is clearly a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to politics, we've seen, I think what people are reacting to is like Facebook and Twitter, where they sometimes label things as hate speech or disinformation. That's a difference of opinion, or a difference of, like, this is not actually settled science, for instance, scientific disagreements and political disagreements or ideological or social disagreements, those things being labeled as disinformation when it's just, I have a different opinion on this. So I think that's what people are reacting to. Out of all that context, this is not a big deal, but within the context, I think people are worried that this is the first step. I know about the slippery slope or the camel's nose under the tent flap and all that sort of stuff. Is real, can be real, but I think sometimes we can also take it too far. We can leap too quickly. I think this is a case of,
let's just watch it.
Yeah, I agree with this. I'm not going to change what I use DuckDuckGo as my default search engine. I'm not sure I'm going to change that based on this, but it certainly makes me want to keep an eye on what DuckDuckGo does in the future.
Well, and that's at least, if that is a concern, there are multiple other options out there.
Yes.
I mean, there's Google, there is Bing, there is, other search engines, so and I think we should be worried about, I mean, not to the extent of like staying up at night worrying about it, but we do want to be careful in following a narrative that someone else is just kind of feeding us. And they could be curated in this in search results or Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. But with all the different ways to get information, you can fairly easily, in the way things are set up now, find both sides of the issues.
Yes. And you make a good point. Is like we have options. There is not just one or two search engines out there. There are multiple ones, and even perhaps ones that might be better than Google and DuckDuckGo for whatever purposes we want. And so that's what I wanted to bring up now is what some of the options are. One of the ones that a lot of people mention is Brave. So Brave is a browser. It's a Mozilla-based browser, I think.
No, it's still based on Chromium.
Oh, right. Chromium. Sorry, that I misspoke. It's a Chromium-based browser, but I think it was from some of the people from the Mozilla project originally who left to start a new browser separate from Mozilla and Firefox. But in any case, however it started, it's a very privacy-focused browser. It doesn't have a lot. It blocks a lot of it can block a lot of the tracking sorts of stuff. And they've added a new Brave search engine. So in the past, the Brave, it was defaulting to Google as the default search engine, but they've now set up their own Brave search engine, and it's, as they say, is even more private than before. And it's set up, it's built to be private. Their business model is to not collect information from you. Google's business model is to collect information about your searches, and so this is a way to give people an alternative. So you can, it's available by default in the Brave browser, but you can also go to search.brave.com as to do searches. I don't think that most of the major browsers like Safari, there's in the settings you can choose your search engine, but I'm pretty sure that Safari is not yet doing that, although it might in the future.
Safari allows you to choose Google, Yahoo, Bing, DuckDuckGo, and Ecosia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that one right.
Oh, Ecosia. Yeah.
That's where they plant a tree for all the searches that get done.
Right. It's a way. It's sort of a green search engine. So this Brave it's a new one. They're also doing this, like Brave is starting Brave Talk, which is sort of like a Google Meet competitor, a Zoom competitor, and they're doing lots of things like that. They're currently ad free, but they say that it will soon be ad supported, but you will also be able to buy an ad free premium version. So they got to pay to keep the lights on somehow, and basically if you're not paying, you're the product. Is the old saying. Is there others that you guys like, Pat? Is there one that you like to use with your clients?
Well, I'm not saying that I use it, but I have a lot of people for whom privacy is an issue, and a lot of them are using Start Page. because one of the things that Bing and other browsers do is they're not using Google, and Google has very accurate search results for a lot of people. And so Start Page actually uses the Google search, but they hide the stuff and filter out the stuff, and Google doesn't get the tracking information. So, but it's built upon the Google algorithms. I mean, it's using those same algorithms. I don't know how they do it, but that's what, because I know myself, when I go to Bing and I type in something, I almost never find what I'm looking for. Same thing with Yahoo. I just don't get the results that get me what I want. Maybe because I'm so used to Google, I know how to search. But so that's the biggest one my folks are using.
Yeah, that's the thing is what it does is it will do it basically does a Google search, but it strips out your IP address and any other cookies or anything else that Google could scrape to build a profile of you in your searches, which it's fun. It's interesting. In fact, do this as an experiment sometime. Find something that you usually search for in an area that you usually search, and do a search on Google.com, and then do the same search through either Duckduckgo or Start Page, and see how the results differ. And you can see how Google is shaping the results it delivers to what it thinks you want, which can be good. If it's actually filtering out the detritus, the stuff that isn't relevant to you, but it could also be hiding stuff, not intentionally, but could also be preventing you from seeing other serendipitous search results. It's a choice that they're making and a dial that they're turning, and that you're not in control of unless you do a search engine, use a search engine that sort of strips all that out. I know that DuckDuckGo, you can search DuckDuckGo and search their index. You can also search Google using DuckDuckGo, and stripping out all of that identifying information by, if you go to DuckDuckGo and you type in the search bar, whatever your search is, and then you do !G, it returns an anonymized Google search.
I did not know that. Thank you.
Yeah, and then you could do sub searches on that. So if I often do !GI, and that it does a Google image search. And there are a number of they call it the exclamation point in programming is called a bang. So there's a number of bang searches that are possible. GM is a Google Maps search. So you can figure it out as whatever the letter is for whatever part of Google you're searching. You can do YouTube searches the same way. So it strips it out and makes it private. So that's another nice feature that you can do. Yeah, and like we said, Bing is not the thing either. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm Susian tonight. I think that we'll have a link to a Tech Radar review of the Bing search engine, which basically says it's okay. It's not great, and it's really most useful if you're a Microsoft Edge user, and it hooks into that. And the privacy features that are there are really only useful if you have a Microsoft account, and even then, they're somewhat minimal. Any other search engine ideas?
Well, you mentioned the Ecosia, and I have a few clients that use that because they're very green-oriented, very, very world oriented in terms of that. And then I've got, there's been a couple of other minor ones that people have used that I look at and I think, they're going to some bad website. And then I get looking, no, it's really okay. It's just that I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, yeah. How about you, Father? Any others that you... Okay.
I remember Ask Jeeves back in the day.
Ask Jeeves, yes.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's still out
I
there.
don't think
There
it
is
is.
an Ask, but it's very spammy. Very advertising.
So I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah,
No,
Ask-
don't ask Jeeves anymore.
Yeah, what was the one? It was the big search engine back in the day. It was like
Alta Vista was the very
Vista.
first one.
Yeah, I mean, they were the thing. It's just amazing how, something can come in like Google. Okay, it's time for the old man of the internet tales to come to tell. I
Please do
remember,
tell, Dom.
yeah, I remember back in the day when I would go online and go to the Yahoo new pages page and look at all the new pages on the internet today.
Yeah.
That was when the internet was quite small. It was it was wild. All right. So if listeners, if you have any search engines that you use that you particularly like, or search privacy related or anti-censorship search related ideas or tips, we would love to hear from you. You can send them to us at technology@sqpn.com. Let's now turn to our thanks for our patrons. We want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Technology, including Seth N., August W., Clint V., Allison H., and Jeremiah N. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. All right, let's look at our headlines. Our first headline is a bit of a follow-up to last time. Last week we talked about, I think it was last week or last week, 2 weeks ago. It's we talked about how the Federal Reserve had issued a report on cryptocurrency, or on a federal digital dollar, a federal cryptocurrency that some have proposed, and which was basically let's look at it some more. It's a very conservative approach. Well, this one is about the president, Biden, issuing an executive order related to cryptocurrencies. And there was a big to-do over it at first. And then it kind of came out that it's not much. So what he did was he basically said he wants all these different parts of the government to produce reports on digital currencies and propose new regulations. And it listed the risks and benefits of crypto. And some people were kind of excited by that because they were expecting much more of, say, a crackdown on crypto, and others were disappointed because they wanted more of a crackdown on it. What do you all think of this story and what it outlines? Any particular things stand out to you in this?
Basically, yeah, it's just like, this is just saying, how do you think this is going to affect you, this branch of government? And so I don't really get excited about that, except that maybe there's an opening that it could either, say, yes, we think we can control one and we're going to put one out there, or the opposite, we think it's just a Wild West and we're going to shut it down because, we think that this could be misused. I really don't have any great feelings on it one way or another. I'm not buying stock in Bitcoin or anything like that.
I think regulation is coming one way or the other, and it's just a matter of how much regulation. And I think the industry recognizes that that regulation is coming. One of the things I found surprising was that national security and criminal elements, not criminal elements, crime fighting parts of the government, law enforcement is what I'm trying to say, parts of the government do not want to crack down on crypto because they find it's easier to trace than cash, which is interesting because that wasn't always the case. In fact, the whole idea of crypto is that it's supposed to be harder to trace, but it turns out that I've seen a few recent stories about how the law enforcement has been able to track some transactions that, some of these big stolen wallets, crypto wallets, and that sort of stuff. They've been able to track some of these transactions and pull the money back and that sort of thing. So they've developed tools for following the money, which not surprising, I guess. So that was one surprising bit for me. So full disclosure, I own some crypto, not much, a few hundred. I think it's less than it used to be because the crypto market has been falling, but I don't know, like $1,400 all told. And that's all. I didn't put 1,400 in. That's like, I put like maybe $100 in over the course of the whole time. That's all accumulation on speculation. I put it in just for fun. I'm very interested in cryptocurrency, not for the crazy NFT stuff, but because of what it might mean for how it could affect social justice, how it could affect how we help people, moving money into places where more easily to help people as opposed through the more traditional banking means, and what it might mean for us as a church and as charities to use it. So I'm just curious.
I think it would have to get a lot simpler.
I agree.
I like the learning threshold for me is way too high for me even to want to like jump into that realm of things.
It's too easy to make a mistake and lose a bunch of money. I joined an app a while ago that gave like free this new cryptocurrency that they had just started, and it had grown. It was like worth like $1,000 or something like that. Like, I should move that into my regular Coinbase wallet, and I mistyped it or something, and it went nowhere. Gone. Somebody got $1,000. Yeah, and I mean, it was never my money really to begin with, so I'm not too worried about it. But it's too easy to make a mistake like that and lose a bunch of money. So you're right; it does have to get a lot more consumer friendly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on to our next headline then, and talk about this one. This headline says, "This dystopic TikTok trend demands Amazon workers dance for surveillance cameras," which sounds very negative, but. Okay, so what it is that there's been this trend of people, they have like their video doorbell and they have Amazon drivers coming to deliver things. And when the driver shows up, people will ask the driver to do a dance for the video or do something fun. And the article kind of takes it as sacrificing the dignity of the workers, making them dance for their masters. And, because they have these low paying jobs. And I'm thinking, they don't have to dance, right?
Well, there was something in the article that mentioned that the workers were worried that if they didn't do it, they'd get dinged, in terms of their responsiveness to customers.
That they could leave a negative review
yes.
with
that they would
delivery.
get, and that could affect their job.
Okay, all right. What
and
do you
I
think,
kind of fall in that camp.
Yeah. My issue with it is. Well, for one, it's immoral to force someone to do that if they don't want to. Now, there are really funny ones where, like, if people do it just to kind of have fun, and okay, there's nothing ultimately wrong with that. But what irritates me about it is like, if you're kind of forcing someone to do this, and then basically taking advantage of them to post that on your TikTok, to get views and to essentially, I mean,
monetize
make fun of
it.
people if they are dancing really weird or whatever. Or even if they're good, I mean, it's still like they're posting these videos of these people without their consent.
Yeah, that's true. And that's actually one of the questions surrounding the video doorbells in general is, it's one thing to have a video doorbell in order to surveillance camera essentially of your front door. I mean, we've had surveillance cameras on buildings for alarm systems and that sort of stuff for a long time. But now it's so easy to post these videos online, and what are the implications for people's privacies? Like, if I go to your front door, am I giving you permission to post my image online? I mean, sure, it's sort of in public, or I'm on your property, so there's sort of an implicit. But but whether it's illegal or not, is it the right thing to do or not? And
and I've seen some stuff on Nextdoor where people are posting stuff, of a child coming up and ringing the doorbell and running away or things like that, and they're blowing them out of proportion, talking about them being juvenile delinquents, or we got to watch for this kid, or and that is wrong. That's just flat out wrong.
I mean, if I caught my kid doing Ding Dong Dash, I would, there'd be some
You would
discipline.
want to crack down on it, sure.
I would prevent them from doing it. But it's
you don't put it out there for the world to see.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. And calling for revenge or that sort of stuff. That's true. I mean, frankly, I think a lot of these TikTok trends are just out of control just to begin with. But I'm not really. I wouldn't. It's not something I would do, and I wouldn't ask someone to do, frankly, and I would not do it if I asked. If I were a driver, I'd be like, "Yep, sure, here's your package." Just be glad it's here. And
I can understand wanting to have a little fun and enjoyable. I can remember a family member who used to ask her customers to sing to them, when they got their coffee, and it was just a kind of a lighthearted. She said if they didn't want to sing, they didn't sing. No problem. But this is kind of coercion. It's leaning toward that. Yeah.
All right. So our next headline is about this dad who I have a lot of sympathy for. So this guy in France, his kids would not get off the screens, would not get off their phones or their iPads or their computers or something, and he wanted to take some drastic action, and what he ended up doing was nuking his whole town's internet connection. So I'm sorry, had to laugh. So what he was doing is he bought a jammer, a multi-wave band jammer. So he's jamming the radio waves that he thought he was jamming them in his house, but what he bought was way too powerful and was jamming half the town between the hours of he said he only wanted to cut off the connectivity to his house between the hours of midnight and 3 a.m. But it was just too powerful. It was knocking everybody out. And now he faces up to 6 months in jail and a fine of $30,000 because multi-wave band jammers are illegal in France, just like they are in the U.S., by the way. So don't get any ideas. Yeah. So what do y'all think of this one?
Why didn't he just lock down his router? There are parental controls in routers, and there's
unless
easier
this was
ways
a citywide WAN, wide area net or something.
Or they had phones and were getting on the cellular connection would be the other thing. But yeah, okay. Let's talk about yeah.
I guess the other thing that I would have thought about would be like if I was that kid growing up, my parents would have just taken the phone away from me and said, "Okay, the phone is in our bedroom, and you can't get it until tomorrow after school."
Exactly. Well, I was going to say, let's talk about some of the ways that people can actually deal with this. So there are, as you mentioned, there are routers where you can have parental controls at the router. So I have an Eero system, and I can set up profiles. I have profiles for the younger kids, profiles for the teens. I even have a profile for smart home devices to segregate them off into their own little section so they can't phone home.
Just as long as you don't have something set up for your wife.
No, I would never do that. But that just gives me bad April 1st ideas. Anyway, she doesn't listen to this, so I'm safe. So you can set up profiles and you can turn off the internet connection at a particular time. You can set up on iOS and on Mac, you can set up parental controls, and you can on Google. Google has them too. I'm sure Windows also has parental controls that you can set up. But like I mentioned, if they have a phone that has a cellular connection, they might be able to get around that, in which case, like you said, Father, like all devices, like you could be, as the parent, say, all phones and iPads and computers have to be out here in the kitchen have a charging station out there, and everything charges here every night. This is one of the things we do. In fact, our kids have Bluetooth headphones that they'll listen to audiobooks. They can listen to them in their bed. Our house is not that big, so this depends on the size of your house. But they can listen to their books from their Kindle, for instance. My son listens to it on his Kindle from the other room. While it's out here, I don't have a problem with the Kindle being in his room because there's not much you can do with that. But if it's a phone or something like that, so that's my suggestion. Don't jam your town.
It's the typical thing of punish everybody instead of or punish everything instead of looking for some way to more surgically take care of the problem.
Using a sledgehammer to hammer them.
Yeah, I want to throw out one more tech recommendation. There is I think it's basically a router, but Circle. It used to be, I think through Disney, but that's another router level that you can get and create profiles for your kids and limit, content and limit times. But I agree. I think the bigger issue is just more about how do you foster those values as a family, and how do you teach those as parents, and how do you model that? And, because if the kids just kind of run wild with it all, they're going to find ways around the router no matter what, so I think it would be better to foster okay, there's going to be no screen time between, 8 PM when it's bedtime and, after school the next day, or,
and you have you have consequences for failure to obey the rules, and
communication between what the expectations are and what they should be able to do. I know we used to have a lot of problems with parents who wanted to basically some of the parental controls were quite harsh. They didn't want the kid to know about them. And so therefore, I think communication was really more the issue, that they needed to talk to their kids and help them to grow up so that they could understand what was good idea to be doing and not a good idea to be doing, more than controlling, because sometimes kids take the control as a challenge.
And someday those kids are going to grow up and they're going to go out into the world and they're going to need to know how to deal with the temptation of being on a screen all the time. And now's the time to teach them. And it's a struggle. I mean, we struggle with it in my house. We have plenty of screens. I'm a tech guy. I love technology, and I know more about this than most, I guess. But it's still a struggle for us. I mean, we've had to, deal with kids who sneaking YouTube videos, and so YouTube videos are forbidden for the younger kids. There's too much on YouTube for them to get into, and he was sneaking, watching YouTube videos when he knew he wasn't supposed to, and downloading games. And, we have very strict limits on the amount of screen time they can have. We allow it, but there's limits, and he was going beyond it, and he felt guilty, and he was feeling so terrible because he was addicted to the games. And it's like, yeah, bud, this is the problem. This is what we're trying to help you with. This is not it's not about we want to deny you something good. We just want to help you so that you don't feel bad like this. Doesn't it feel icky? He's like, yeah, I do, and so this was it became a thing we could do together. We can help each other with, as opposed to I'm the cop and you're the criminal situation. Yep. And I think that's the key.
Well, and it's yeah, I mean, as you're talking, you're helping him learn the virtue of temperance.
Yes.
And and which is great, and that if you just have no, you can't do this, period. Yeah, you're never going to actually learn the virtue that you should to grow and to be a better person, but you're just going to end up rebelling later down in life and, go all crazy. And the other thing that I was thinking about is like things don't change, and then things change all the time. I grew up I didn't grow up with this kind of stuff, but I grew up with Game Boys. I remember my brother got caught with his Game Boy after he's grounded and playing it in bed. And, and then like even me, I did the Game Boy too, but I would sit and read with a book till, dark 30 in the morning. And that wasn't very helpful either.
That was me.
Yeah.
Right.
Flashlight.
So,
it's always been something.
Yeah. Things stay the same and change.
Right. Just the technology has changed. I did want to add, like, I had a great conversation last night with my daughters as I was driving them back from Scouts last night. And we were talking about, like with the teens, not spending so much time, like one has an iPad, the other one has a Chromebook, and they use it to communicate with they have a homeschool connections forum, sort of like social media, but just for the kids who are involved in this homeschool organization that they take classes through online. And it's great. I love it. I love that they have this, and they've met so many friends this way. But we're trying to help them put a limit on this, and so we've told them, like, we need you to, when it's after dinner, after prayers, you need to put your computers out here and plug them in and that sort of thing. So you're not doing it afterwards. It hasn't been a huge problem, but we're just trying to implement some. And then you can't get it back until after you get your schoolwork done tomorrow. And we talked about that. I was talking to them about it in relation to discipline and the appetites, and how if you start to control some appetites and impose discipline in one area, it leads to discipline in other areas, which you're struggling with as well. Spiritual discipline, mental discipline, physical discipline. I talked about the connection between, like, say, fasting from food and how that helps us spiritually, mentally, and physically. And it was a great conversation because it was not adversarial. It was, this is just part of growing up and being human and not being all out of control with things. And teenagers, I think a lot of teenagers understand the feeling of feeling out of control, that in needing that some sort of rails to guide them with things. And this is one of those ways. So, parents, don't be afraid to talk to your kids and help them use technology in a healthy way. And frankly, I think a lot of us parents don't have these conversations because we're feeling guilty ourselves because we're not using it in a healthy way. And I point my finger at myself because I probably, keep my phone out and fiddling with it when I shouldn't at times. So just something to keep
Not
in
in
mind.
the middle of prayers, Tom.
No. During prayers, it's iBreviary. We're doing night prayer.
Right, no, I'm teasing.
Actually, during night prayer, I sometimes make snide remarks, like based on the translations. Like there's one song where we talk about we're all in one accord, and I'm like, is it a Honda Accord? Or or I do my podcast voice when I do the prayers. They all the kids say I have a podcasting voice. I don't understand. I don't see it. You're listening to anyway.
Liturgy of the Hours.
Liturgy of the Hours with Tom Bettinelli. Anyway, nobody wants that. So let's move on to our next headline, where this goes really off the rails. Our last headline is breaking news of the last 24 hours or so as we're recording this. It's kind of tech related. The U.S. Senate passed a law that would make daylight savings time permanent. Yes. Let's stop switching the clocks, please. For the love of all that's holy, can we stop switching the clocks? So in case you are an hour late to everything the last few days, we actually switched the clocks last Saturday, and for me it was in the middle of a camping trip with scouts where I'm already not getting enough sleep.
No.
So I was really tired on Sunday later that day.
Oof.
But it's the Sunshine Protection Act, co-sponsored by Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island and Senator Marco Rubio of Florida. It would make daylight savings time permanent as of November 2023. I'm not sure what it would mean for states where they're on permanent daylight or standard time. Whether Arizona and Hawaii and parts of Indiana, I think it is, would want to switch to daylight savings time and just stick with the rest of us the rest of the time, because that would be really awkward if they're permanently off. But what do y'all think of this? Is it a good idea? Should we all stay on permanent daylight savings time? What do you think?
I just want to stay on one time.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I don't care which one.
To me, I don't care, but I have heard some arguments for making it, instead of daylight savings, to make it regular, time, standard time, and put that as the standard for everybody. The other thing I'm hearing a lot of, because I know a lot of people in other countries, is that if the U.S. does this could be a stressor for some of the communication, that now they know exactly what the times are between the different places, and now this adds another layer of problems to deal with.
Right, because other, like Europe, switches. They switch to what they call summertime, but again, it's already 3 weeks off, which messes with me because our website server for SUPN is based in Amsterdam. That's because that's where SQPN's founder was and that sort of thing. And so I have to post in Amsterdam time. And so for 3 weeks in the spring and the summer and the fall, I have to do the mental calculation of, wait, we're an hour off. I got to make sure I post this at the right time, that sort of thing. But yeah, that would make us off, like it would, instead of being 5 hours off of Britain on the East Coast, we'd be 4 hours off part of the year and 5 hours off the other part of the year, instead of what we have now. So there's that. The other objection you mentioned was like about the getting up at kids would be going to the bus stop for 3 months, going to the bus stop in the dark. Sunrise wouldn't be till after 8. And I'm thinking, people in like Maine and Minnesota and Michigan, they already do this. Like Canada does this fine.
It's adjustment as opposed to something that's a critical problem. Yeah.
Right.
Or the other thing that you could do, those school districts that are concerned about that could, I don't know if it would go over well, they could start school at 9 instead of 8.
Right. Well, and frankly, it would probably be better because, as the studies have shown, that high schoolers need more sleep in the morning. They actually, it's not just that they're lazy. They actually physiologically need more sleep in the morning, and they're not getting it, and that's why they're not doing as well in school. I would prefer more light in the evening. I prefer daylight savings time, but at this point, just pick one. just pick one and stick with it. And that would be my preference. I don't like the switching, especially when you have little kids. Like little kids do not know clocks, and so I remember when my kids were babies and toddlers. For a week or so before and after, we were just a wreck. Like it was just a mess in the house because we, as the parents, we still have to get up what the clock says the time to get up. I got to go to work and that sort of stuff. And the kids are all messed up, and dinner's too early or too late, and yeah, it's just a mess. So let's stop.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if we do it or if we don't, there's always going to be complications, regardless. So let's just do it, and then not have to. Well, and even there's the studies of the time change that causes there's an
problems,
uptick
accidents.
of accidents and all of that sort of stuff. And ultimately, I don't care which time you stick with, just stick with it. I'm
right.
This week has been challenging for me. Just
exactly.
It's always like day 2 after the change. Like so, yesterday it was Monday was just like.
Oh, just a wreck.
Fog.
Yeah. I had jury duty on Monday, and it was like, I don't want to be here. I'm tired. I'm double tired from scout camping and the time change. One of the myths, by the way, about the time change is it's like we do it because it saves energy. And the fact is multiple studies have shown it doesn't actually save any money. But, it's the old Native American saying only men from Washington would think you could cut a foot off the bottom of a blanket and sew it to the top and think you have a longer blanket, that sort of thing, or however it goes, but that's something like that. All right. So the base of the bill now goes to the House where it's actually expected to pass. We'll see whether the president signs it. All right. That does it for our headlines this week. Let's move right on to our picks of the week. And Father Andrew, you are up first. What is your pick this week?
My pick of the week has absolutely nothing to do with what we talked about. It is all about audio. My pick of the week is a Bose TV soundbar. So this is a soundbar that you can use for your TV. I actually have one of these hooked up to my iMac, and so it works really well for either one. It's Bose, so the sound quality is superb, and it's a sound bar, so it's not a surround sound system, so it's on the cheaper side if you're looking at Bose and their quality. So this particular sound bar is $280. It's about 2 feet wide, and it works impressively. You can hook it up to your TV with all the signal inputs there, the audio inputs, or it's got an auxiliary earphone in, and that's how I use it for my iMac. And it works really well. So
neat.
Cool. I like it. That would be really useful for me because I got my TV here, I've got my Mac here, and I've got like a home theater, like an old AV receiver here, and it's all kind of janky, and I get like a million speakers all over the place. It would be nice to have one thing for both of those. That would be really nice. That's a great idea. Excellent. Pat, what is your pick this week?
Well, I had not done any of the Quest type related games before, but I have seen some other people post things about other games, so here I am.
Okay.
The game that I have really, or the app that I have really enjoyed the most over this last year and a half or two has been Mini Golf. And Walkabout Mini Golf, it can be played by yourself. It can be played a quick match with somebody that you don't know. It can be played as a group where you've got up to 5 people in a group of people that you know. It can also be played with people through Discord where you get different people that pop on and want a game. You can play it in practice mode so that it doesn't count. You just get to hit something over and over again until you get it right. And it has been so much fun. I've gotten together with people from all over the world and all over the country. And it's a great way to have a channel to socialize and play something that's a skilled game and get better at it, etc. But it has been a hoot. And so it's cross-platform in a sense that if you had an Oculus Rift or you played Steam, then you could play this as well. On those platforms, it's not just Quest, and it's cross-buy with the Steam games so that you could buy at one place and play at the other, and cross-play, I believe, between the two as well.
I think that's
and
what
it's just been great.
So to be clear, it's a VR game that you can play on the Meta. It used to be Oculus Quest, Meta Rift, Steam VR, and yeah, it says on their website that you can. It's full crossplay between all platforms, so you don't have to have both people that are playing be on the same like Quest or Rift. So yeah, it's fun. I've played it a little bit myself, and it is fun. Just to kind of, if you get the feel that you're at a little miniature golf place. I can't wait to get my kids on with their grandma to.
I would really like that.
It would be fun.
They are releasing new games or new courses every month right now.
Oh,
now,
wow.
the add-on courses are like $2.99. They are cheap, but they're so clever. There's one that's set, in Don Quixote in the windmills type environment. There's another one that's kind of like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's a Sweetopia. And, they've got all sorts of different things that they're going to be releasing. In fact, they're coming out with one that's based upon the movie Labyrinth.
Ooh.
And that's
Cool.
going to be cool. They're working with people to bring that into there.
Awesome.
And it's all original music. It's just, in fact, they actually released the soundtrack of the music recently.
Oh, nice. That's fun. Awesome. That's a good pick. Does the game itself have a cost?
Yeah, I think it may be, I'm trying to remember if it's $29 or $19.99, but everybody that I have played says it's so worth it for the amount of playtime that you get on that. And it's just really great. I'm a part of a couple of messenger groups that basically through the day and early evening, somebody will pop on and say, "Hey, I'm available. Anybody want to play?" And all of a sudden, you'll have 4 people or 5 people show up and play together and just have a hoot, and you get to know people and concerns like, it's really, really very cool.
So it's $14.99 right now.
Thank
So
you, because I
pretty
couldn't
cheap.
remember.
You can get it as part of something called the Quest Starter Kit as well, or Starter Pack, where you get a bundle of, if you're brand new to the Quest, you get 4 like games or 4 apps all together in a bundle for a pretty good price too. So that's nice. Excellent. So I have a pick. My pick is an app called Just Watch for iOS, and what it is, it's another one of these apps that addresses the modern problem of the streaming problem, which is I want to watch something. I have no idea where I can watch it. Like, what service? I have all these services. I have all these options. Where should I watch this thing? This title. And so Just Watch is another one of those apps that helps you try to figure that out. And it gives it, you open up the app, you look at the, you could search for a particular, title, whether it's a movie or a TV show, or you can tell it things that you've watched before, and it can recommend stuff to you if you're looking for something new. And then it will tell you where this is available. You can buy like seasons on Apple TV. You can watch it streaming on these services, in so on and so forth. And you can tell it, these are the services I have. Like I have Disney Plus, I have Hulu, I have Netflix, and then it will specifically tell you if if the shows are on those. I'm not sure how accurate it is, because I've been watching Longmire on Netflix, and it says Longmire is not available streaming, which hopefully it didn't just disappear since the last time I was watching it, because I'm in the middle of season 2. But we'll see. And then there's it's free, the app. They have a premium version, which is ad-free and gives you some other filtering options for $2.49 a month, which seems a lot to me. I don't think you need it. I wouldn't use it myself, but you could try it out and see what you think. So it's a useful way to keep track, and then you can create a watch list of the shows and movies that you watch, and keep up with where when they're streaming and where they're streaming and when a new episode is out and that sort of thing. So kind of a useful sort of modern problem. We talked about a website recently, the Streamables, I think it was called. That was someone's pick of the week, and this is an app that does that. And there's another app I'm going to have as a future pick that does something similar, slightly differently, that I also like.
Well, and it's funny because 2 weeks ago I set it up on my phone, and I found that my Samsung TV also I can add it to there, and then it actually knows what you've watched based upon that. Otherwise, you have to say, well, yeah, I finished watching this or I finished watching that, and it can then let you know when a new episode has been released. We accidentally got into two different things this week that were only partially released. They didn't dump them all online. It's like my husband said, oh, wait a minute. You mean I've got to wait for the next episode?
Yes. Wow, what a world. We have to wait.
Yeah.
So they have an Apple TV app as well. And one of the nice things is you can, if you find it on the phone app and you say, I want to watch this now, you can tell it to start playing it on the Apple TV. It will send a signal and that will communicate with the like say the BritBox app or the Netflix app on your Apple TV or your Roku or your smart TV or your Google Cast. It can do that as well, and it will start it playing there. So you can start the movie or show playing from the app on your phone. That's the promise. I haven't done it myself, but that's the promise of the app. So.
We did run into a limitation on it that where I could say I wanted to watch something on Netflix and it would call Netflix up, but you had to get the selection yourself. In other words, it would not go all the way through to the actual episode.
Yeah, Netflix itself. Netflix and Apple they're not quite working fully together on things, and so that's they need to get their act together. Yeah. All right, so those are our picks, and that will do it for us this time. We would love to hear from you, what you think of anything we've talked about. You can let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology or the SQPN Facebook page at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, or send an email to technology@sqpn.com. And of course, we'll have links to everything we talked about, including our picks of the week, in our show notes at sqpn.com. Remember to like each episode of Secrets of Tech on Facebook or on Twitter, where we're at SQPN, and leave us comments in those places. We'd love to hear from you and love to get your feedback. Until next time, Father Andrew Kinstetter, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
Absolutely.
Pat Scott, thank you as well.
It's been fun. Adios.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.